Well, welcome to the Treasurer's Report for 2021. Each year the PCC prepares this document called the Annual Report and Financial Statements, which we're required to do by charity law. This summarises the church finances and gives an account of how the church income has been used. The accounts are independently examined and to ensure they give a true record, so it's one way in which the church is seen to be accountable to all those who support its work. And the report's available online or in hard copy at church, and I do encourage you to have a look at it and ask me any questions you have about it. What follows is a brief summary of the key financial points in it. So to begin, looking at our overall income and expenditure for our general fund, this is the unrestricted funds for the day-to-day running of the church. Our income in 2021, and that's the green column on the right rather, shows that we received just over £100,000, and the red bar on the right shows we spent just under £100,000. So overall we finished the year with a little more than we started with, which is a good position to be in. You can also see how 2021 compares with the previous years, 2020 when COVID was affecting us the most, and 2019 pre-COVID. So you can see while our income and expenses have recovered compared to 2020, we're not yet back to pre-COVID levels yet. Taking a closer look at our income then, you can see that our donated income, that's the column on the left, was slightly more than in 2019, which is very encouraging, just around 75,000. It's lettings, which are still down on 2019, they're better than 2020. And that's mostly due to the filming that was undertaken at St Paul's, helped us there. And it seems a long time ago, remember of course, that at the start of the year we were in lockdown from January to March, so there was no letting income then. The activities on this slide is income from other things, principally weddings and funerals. Now this slide helps us look a little more into where our donated income comes from. The majority comes from standing orders, as you can see, and this gives us a reliable and predictable steady stream of income. So this is the way I encourage anyone to give if you're able. So if you don't give by standing order and would like to consider it, then do please ask me for information about how to do that. So standing orders were pretty much unaffected by COVID. The biggest drop in income, as you might expect, was collections. This is loose cash given at services. But sundry donations, the column on the right, has really soared. I guess it gives giving by card and contactless payments, as well as donations made direct to the bank account. And this has really replaced nearly all the reduction in collections. So this, together with a generous gift day, meant that our income last year, 2021, was more than 2019. So we can praise God for that. Well, moving on to expenditure, our largest expense as a parish, with as many churches, is the parish share. And this is our contribution to pay for our professional clergy. It seems like a large figure, but what we pay does not actually cover the full cost of the clergy that we have, which would be nearer 120,000. In 2020 we underpaid the parish share, but thankfully 2021 we paid our share in full. And so you can see what this covers: its clergy salaries, their housing, their pensions, training for future clergy, and diocesan costs. Now our other costs are shown in this slide. The red columns are 2021, so spending has been less than 2019 in nearly all areas, but generally more than 2020 as things have returned more towards normal. We plan to spend more on our buildings in 2021 than we actually did, but St Paul's boiler repairs are still outstanding. And activities on this slide is what we spend on what we do in church, our services, our clergy expenses and all our activities. In fact, in 2019 this was unusually high because of a large organ repair bill, and also musician and catering expenses, which didn't have in 2020. That's largely why the spending was lower here last year than a normal year. So everything I've spoken about so far relates to unrestricted funds. Now, the church also has several restricted funds where money has been given for a specific purpose. And the most significant one of these is the Holiday Lunch Club. This is work that Joki's been heading up in her role as Deanery Missioner. There's been significant grants and large donations to fund this, and groups have been run at St Paul's and other churches in the town, providing meals and activities for families in need of support. And we also continue to support Sarah Chingwabe, her education in Tanzania, and very generous donations have come in for that. And we have other restricted funds for the development work at both of our churches, and this slide shows closing balances at the end of the year. There wasn't much activity. St Paul's development had income of about 1,600 and St Mary's about 3,000, with some expenditure on various fees to do with the planning. We also have a care and maintenance fund for St Mary's that's hasn't really moved in the year, and the figure there really is mostly what was recovered from insurance after the container was broken into. And we have various other restricted amounts that come to just over 5,000. Those are specific gifts given for specific things that haven't yet been spent. So what's our outlook for 2022? Well, we started in a fairly good position on the positive side. We had a general fund balance of about 9,000. We're expecting this year church services and lettings pretty much back to normal, and income there to be at pre-COVID levels. And our parish share has in fact gone down. It very rarely does that. Our assessment was affected by the retirement of Robert Finlay, so that's all those points work in our favour. However, we still have expensive boiler repairs to make at St Paul's, which we didn't make last year, and we know about the cost of energy, in budgeting about 8,000 this year. Our energy is really the most sort of worrying aspect of this coming year. The church is treated as commercial premises. It's not protected by any kind of price cap. So in normal times, this often means that we have a very favourable price. And our last 3-year contract for gas, which ended in May 2021, was at a cost with VAT of about 2.76 pence per kilowatt. We then entered a new 3-year contract, paying 3.16 pence in May, but the supplier sadly went bust in August and were transferred to E.ON at a price of 4.97, held until the 16th of April. Now, from the 16th of April, the price is a whacking 12.09 pence per unit. And that is more than a fourfold increase, as the slide shows. So if rates don't come down on a full year, that will cost us around about £18,000 for gas alone at St Paul's, compared to about £4,000 for our usage previously. So that is a worrying thing that we need to address. Finally, I want to thank everyone who supports our church financially. Every donation is a sign of God's generosity towards us, and without your generosity the church would not function. So thank you all very much indeed. And finally, thanks to various people involved behind the scenes with our finances: Victor, Mandy, Christine, Tony and Dee, Anne, Robert, all do things to help things run smoothly. So thanks to them, and thank you all for listening.